Let's go for it. Let's go for it. We're just about to get rolling here, and I can play around with this, but I also need to do one thing. Classic Aaron, one thing. All right, I don't need to hear myself anymore. I'm going to put this down there, and hopefully it's coming through just strong as ever. For those of you joining me in the pre-show, we're about to go live about 4.5 minutes. We're going to go live here. And Chris and Rhonda, hey. Looks like you guys are talking about getting new vehicles and vehicles that are awesome for adventuring. So cool. Glad it's working out. I just got a package in the mail. This has got zero information, but it's basically a light that's sitting in there. I'm going to do some moving around of my scenes and possibly moving around a lot more. But for now, this might be a good start for some different lighting. This isn't really any effort, to be honest. This is just something that I put together in like 5 minutes because it just arrived today. The other part where it gives me a little backlighting, some rim lighting, another light is coming in the mail tomorrow. So I've got some better lighting possibly. I gotta do some more test runs, and it's hard when I'm doing it this way. I kind of need to look at, I'll just skip the ad. Okay, there I am. I mean, I look okay. I look like the classic YouTuber thing where you put a blue background and all that jazz. I mean, that is our method, or a different color, but I think blue is going to be what I still use because that's my shot. Hey, Faster. Hey, Justin. Left work just in time. Oh, man, Justin, you flatter me by making this a priority. You and Rhonda tonight both said the same thing, that you had other things to do, but you chose to hang out with me. Awesome. Phil, hey. Hey, I got Phil on here from Florida. Welcome in, Phil. There was another Phil who is named, or his son's name was John, their last name was Hancock, and so his son was John Hancock, and that's the person I'm thinking. He actually lived in Florida. Is that beard creeping in? Yeah, it is. It's called I Didn't Bring Any Razor With Me When I Left on June 20th. I got back August 3rd, and then in this last week, I haven't found the motivation to trim it off yet, but I think I will. I'm going to ask a friend who's a girl, but not any interest in, well, let's see, I'm trying to work things out, but let's not go into that. She may have an opinion, but unfortunately we're not like at that stage where it's just she tells me. So I have to ask, see what she thinks. Argus is here from Santa Cruz. Justin Miller had a 13-hour shift. Yeah, you barely got off. Top of the evening to you, Tim Bradley. Welcome in. I'm going to grab, actually, no. I have it here. I'm going to use my phone today. What I want to do is open up Photoshop while we're chilling our last couple minutes. What do you guys think? Should I turn this light brighter? I feel like I might still be a little dark. Maybe a little bit more fill light. Okay, so what about 50% for both? Might be too bright. Especially on this. This might be too bright. But the fill light may have just did it. It's hard because I got to look at myself here where it's got a delay, but I also want to do a Photoshop file in 1 minute and 15 seconds. Let's see. Let's go to the double screen and see if I can get the look to work. All right, I'm seeing myself come back. I don't know. I feel like I'm just missing a little bit of light. And we got a lot of playing around with this to get this right, but it's awesome. Hey, Faster is driving. No worries. Audio mode only. That's totally fine. And let's see. Oh, I'm not satisfied yet, but I'm on my way to being satisfied. I got to do this with a big old picture of me where I can move the lights and see it large and see how it turns out. But I think for tonight, is there any downvotes on this being distracting? I think there's nothing distracting about it. I think it works out. I think it works out well. And I'm trying to find the art asset. Oh, that might be it. Yeah. Oh, but that app list. Let's change it to... This is app list all. Templates, let's go by name. And OBS, gotta find my art asset that makes this work. Something about 11. PhotoPills, yes, and it's actually the right size. Sweet, sweet, sweet. Let's go ahead and duplicate this. And yeah, sure, I'll just know that the other one's Planit. And actually, no, make this one Planit. Just working on stuff in the background. We're about to go live here any minute now. I came back from helping a friend move, and so I haven't showered, and I haven't got myself really, really ready to go. But I have, what I mean by that is that I haven't dusted myself with makeup so that I don't look all slimy and reflective. Welcome back, Fuzzface, says Bob Burkowski. John Marilot says, hey, how are the cats? They're fine, John. Don't get Grant going. Cats are good. Cats are good. They survived my scenario, you know, with me being gone. And, well, you know, that's a relief. You know, I think I'm going to make this chat a little smaller. Live chat, let's undo. I think it may be a tad distracting. I'm going to go, you guys aren't seeing this, but there's something else on a different screen that I'm making the chat a little bit more manageable. And I do it on this one as well. Just, you know, because I was helping my friend move, I wasn't able to get ready, but I think we're good. Ooh, maybe a little smaller. I think that's more manageable. And so between those, oh, that one is still a little smaller. So let's just go for it. We're technically going to be going live any second. Yeah, that works for me. I mean, it's not perfect. Okay, Aaron's still trying to make it perfect. They're very close. They're very, very, very close. But, okay, we're going to go live any second. I'm just going to give you 1 2-minute video to hang out with, and then I will return, Fuzzface and all. So catch you in a... This is my Carson Lumi Loop. Right here above of this is a link, a quick text link, so you can go watch that focus video right now. But this is my #1 tip for getting great focus when I'm doing Milky Way photography. I take this because it has a plastic cup. It keeps it perfect distance from it. Flush right up against my LCD screen. And then I tweak it until I get the perfect focus. There's one more tip that I want to give you tonight, and it is one that if you have really good vision and you can see dots on the back of your LCD screen, this is going to be a quick tip to help you know, oh wow, okay, I can see the dots, I'm out of focus. Check out this clip of me in Escalante explaining it right there on scene. There's a way you can quickly see the difference on the back of your screen, even if you're not sure if you quite nailed the focus. Look at the difference. Can you notice the difference between them? This is just slightly out of focus, and yet I can tell immediately that I missed. And what is it that's giving it away? It's the brighter magnitude stars. Are there too many dots? If you start to see the stars as more than just a sea of specks of sand, but you start to see the brightest magnitude stars standing out, that's when you know you're out of focus. As I go more out of focus, watch how the brighter magnitude stars start to pop off the screen. And then here's even greater out of focus. It's so obvious when you look at it this way. If you're seeing a whole sea of stars, but there's standouts, if you have a lot of standouts, if you have just a few, look at this image. This one, you can see that there's definitely a few that stand out that are really bright. Antares, the planets, obvious ones, they're standing out. Back here, though, when I go over, there's a sea of them from corner to corner, middle, far left, far right. So if you have too many dots, that means the brightest magnitude stars are standing out. And when those brightest magnitude stars stand out, you know it's gone a little too far on the out of focus range. So try again. Awesome. Thank you for watching yet another 2-minute tip. I want to emphasize all of these tips are going to help anybody who's a complete beginner have a starting point. This might change. Your adventure might be different. Your gear might be different. You might prefer more star trailing. You might prefer other things that I don't prefer. So just know this is a great starting point. You will succeed in getting solid Milky Way photography. But you know what? Maybe you prefer something else. Try something else. All right. Shh. Aaron, shush. All right, welcome in. It's Wednesday, and that means it's Milky Way Wednesday. And I'm looking now full screen at this light. Do I like it? I feel like this shirt just doesn't sit evenly. For some reason, my under white shirt only shows on one side of my collar. And it drives me nuts, but welcome in. Welcome to Milky Way Wednesday. I'm Aaron King with Photog Adventures, and today we are going to be learning the 5 critical things you should know when you're working with the apps that help you plan Milky Way. The apps, meaning PhotoPills and Plan It. With those two in tandem, you can do just about any kind of planning that you want. Where PhotoPills has some great, more easy to get into as a beginner steps to find out where the Milky Way core is going to be, Plan It takes it a whole nother level and gives you this virtual reality window into what's going on. And I'm just going to remind some of you and teach some of you for the first time ever what those critical things in both apps are that you must know. Now, here we go. I am going to talk for a second before we go technically into the lesson about the lighting. So help me out here. Should I go with the blue light? Should I go with like a yellowish green? What is this? Let's go with more red. I don't know. I don't know if I like red necessarily. Chris Whiting says I can keep the beard while it's not white. Speaking from experience. Yeah, thankfully, as a guy who is losing his hair, but the guy who's like lost most of his hair, I mean, I have some. I savor a beard. A beard really helps. But, you know, it's still cliche a little bit to be the bearded man with this. And so I don't know if I want to keep the beard. Plus, I turned 40, and I want to look as young as possible. So help me out, friends. Should I keep or remove the beard? I'm planning on shaving it, but we'll see. We'll see how it goes. So the beard wasn't the plan. The plan was asking you about the light. Oh, yellow, green light. Yeah, John was liking that. Kind of like this. That could be my look. When I'm looking at the camera, in fact, let me pull up us so I can see myself live. I can see how it looks over here. Let me show you what I am seeing. This is the delay of me talking a little bit ago. And you can see how from this angle, I can actually see what you're seeing without turning my face. When I turn my face to see my live stream, I end up changing how the light hits my cheeks. So let's look at this. Keep it short. Keep it, but short. Okay, that's my friend Turley was saying. Don't go any longer than this. Don't go homeless face. All right, so the green light. Now I'm just showing myself small. Let's go back to the big screen. And let's try a yellow light. This is not very yellow looking. There we go. That's more yellow, but that doesn't look like anything anymore. There's nothing about it. What about like a pinkish red? Well, maybe that's too much. Purple? My daughter would love it if I went with purple. Purple's interesting, but it's not quite it. Younger, Kapua says. Go younger. Yeah, I know. I need to look younger. Looks like a tanning bed light and says too hot. Yeah, there might be intensity option for me because like I was telling those who were already here in the pre-show, this arrived on my doorstep before I came in, and so I just plugged it in, tossed it inside that lampshade. For now it's just a LED strip, and I've got this app to control it, and I'm just figuring it out as I go. Let's see. Oh, that just left. I want to, can I just bring the intensity down? Yeah, I sure can, but it's kind of I don't know. It's kind of cool. It'll be really neat to see what I can do with it. Let's go into it. There's all sorts of, what is this? Oh, this is the intensity. Yeah, I can bring it up and down from right here. Cool. So purple might not be the answer. Light blue, maybe even dark blue. Something around there. It's very cliche now. Beards are makeup for men, Justin says. But it's for some reason a comment that's been held for review. Yes, YouTube, I'll allow it. I will allow him to say that. Ask Roger, LOL. I like the warm light. He means Roger Clark. Okay, so I think tonight's episode, yellow, green, Milky Way, purple, LOL. I'm getting some votes either way. But I'm going to play around with this, and depending on where I place that and how I move my background to try and look better with this kind of thing, I am going to make some adjustments before next Wednesday's live stream. But speaking of what we're doing right now, let's get into this Wednesday's live stream. And we're going to start with Planit Pro. Why? Because this is something that I know less about than PhotoPills and have really started mastering it. Oh, really? That's how much of the window it's showing? Let's fix this. I want you to show way, way, way more. Okay, now you're in there, and move it to this position right here. Yeah, I like that. Perfect. Okay, cool. I can see the chat. I can see, hey, if you have any question for me, and you can see down below, I'm on Planit Pro, the Planit Pro app. I'm reusing a graphic from a previous Milky Way Wednesday to make it simple because I was just moving a buddy. But here we go. Let's talk about 5 critical things you need to know about Planit Pro. And I'm going to try and stay away from the basics. But I'm going to start off on the first tip for both of them, just the very, very, very minimum knowledge that you should have. And then I'll hit you up with 4 other things that I love. I'm using my phone, and I'm going to let you see it from the phone perspective. I could use my iPad. I almost did, but it's just such a different layout than what you might have if you don't have a tablet. And so from the phone, tiny window right over here. Let's go through the app. Planit Pro is this app right here. Let me just draw some mouse circles around it. You guys can barely see that. My mouse is just so tiny right now. On this device, making my mouse size bigger didn't do anything last time I tried. It looked bigger to me, but it didn't show up on the live stream somehow. So Planit Pro is this. I'm trying to think. Is there some sort of tool I can add on here? What if? Color source, image. Can I just do a circle? I just want a circle or a pointer. There's got to be something cool that I could do. Forgive me for playing around with this in the background, but if you've ever watched any of these shows, you know that I do it all the dang time. So I have no control. Okay, I need to make a graphic where it has a circle, and I can just grab it and move it. In fact, I did that once. I believe I did. Okay, image. Add source. There's one that I made already. Circle. I see it. Yes. Okay. This app right here. Woohoo! You're seeing it. Let me double check over on YouTube. Yes, I think it's going to be coming in about a few seconds. So I'm going to tackle just the chat. If you're in the chat and you have a question for me in the app, please interject. Interrupt me. Let me know, hey, Aaron, what was that you just did? And it's going to help others in the class, in the night here on Milky Way Wednesday. They're going to have those same questions, and they're going to want to know what I just talked about. So feel free to ask me, but just make sure you do it in all caps in the chat. So you write all caps, blah, 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 whatever it is, and I will know, oh, good, there's a question I should tackle right now. So do not wait for me to ask for questions. Let me be interrupted. Okay, cool. We set that ground rule, and I saw that the circle is showing up as expected. So this is the Planit Pro icon, and I'm going to tap it and remove the circle for now. In fact, I'll just kind of set it off down here for later. So this app, it's like you would expect any of these apps where it lets you decide where your camera is at. But in this one, there's some different elements to it that you should tackle from. Making plans is one way to like separate your other work that you've done before. So over here, and let me do my circle already, up here at the top, this is the hamburger menu. This is going to be critical. We're going to go here a lot where I tap on those 3 lines. It's going to open up a separate menu right there, okay? And right here, I'm going to scroll down and look at my plans. You can see I have 5 that I've now created. Unlike the plans in PhotoPills, this one is just going to set up a whole new name for the top of what your screen is. See up here, Temple of the Moon? I created that plan. So if I was in that menu and I tap the new icon next to it, I'm going to say, okay, reset the time to now and release the camera and all those settings. Let's just go for it, hit OK. And now I have Plan 2, named Plan 2 up here at the top, right there. So that Plan 2, in fact, I'm just going to leave that between the chat for now. This is going to be Milky Way Wednesday, MWW, and we're going to call it, what is today, August 10th? Yeah, August 10th. Just any name can work. I'm renaming the plan, just so I know that's what I'm doing. The reason why this is nice is because I can go to my plans and say, oh, what about my other plans? I just missed the button. I want to go to them. I still can't see the other plans. Show me the other plans. I guess I can search within my plan names. If I take off the word moon, it shows my plans like I was expecting. So up here where it had the word moon, it kind of filtered for me based on any plan that had the word moon in it. If I look in MWW, there's that one. And then all these other plans don't really have names. There's Shasta with Allen. So I'll click on that one, and it'll actually open back up that location. Now, it looks like while using Shasta with Allen, I went to Mesa Arch. And so this plan has been changed because I moved locations while in that plan. What if I wanted to keep that location? That's why it's critical that you add a new plan. That you go and add a new plan at the beginning if you have something that you're saving, like a project that you're going to come back into. And so let's go to see this Faroe Islands one. See, even this one, I'm not even in Faroe Islands. There's nowhere in the Faroe Islands that looks like that, and I'm starting to think that that's secret. Blank, blank, blank. I won't say the word. Secret's in the name. I'm going to go back to Milky Way Wednesday, and it's going to show you where I last left, basically, my plan, my location. And that was on Cathedral Valley in National Park of Capitol Reef. So let's talk about some of the great benefits of this. In fact, I'm just going to leave us there because there are some sweet benefits on this rock that we can gain from. So looking at this rock, I'm going to say where I'm going to be. And using this icon that's already on the screen, it says Sun Sequence. Notice that there's all these colored dots. This is something that is a bit difficult, and I'm going to do my zoom right here. I'm going to add my zoom camera, which I believe was a display capture, and add a source and the zoom display. Yes. Okay. And now I can crop in on things. I want you to crop in. Okay, there we go. So basically what happens is I don't have to resize, I just have to crop in and then size that up, and I can give you a tighter view of what I am looking at. Okay, I'm resizing. Hold down Alt, Aaron. Hold down Alt, and here we go. And I'm going to go underneath here, and oh, I didn't hold down Alt first. Okay, let go of the mouse, Alt first, then go. Okay, that was my bad. So this area of my phone, I'm going to zoom in on for you. And I'm going to make it nice and big over the chat so that you can see critically these arrows that are on here. And that's something, oh, I need to make the zoom display under my circle. So this arrow right here and this arrow right there, they give you two separate menus. And this arrow up top is actually the menu for this entire line. Man, I need to edit this circle. Can I make the circle a different color? No, it's an asset I created. Darn. Okay, this was good on the screen that I used it, but on this screen it blends in a little bit. But at least it's helping me navigate everybody. Let me double check that it is. Yeah, I can see it on my YouTube Live. Okay, we're good. We're golden. So this arrow and this arrow are different menus, and this arrow is roughly this menu that is all big oval squares that go smaller to bigger on both sides. So I can click on this one with my finger and go right to that. And it's like, hey, this is a tide, and the nearest tide station is pretty far away. So select your tide station. Well, this one's some Greek tide station. I'm going to go to somewhere in California. So it's going to tell me the tides based on Newport Beach and say, hey, that's still pretty far away. And it's like, it's okay, no worries. I'm not really there. But this is a tide. But how would I have known that? From memory, you can know that. But from this button right up top here, you can pick it by name. So if you can navigate your finger, which is not an easy process. See, I keep hitting green buttons instead. There it is. I hit it. I successfully hit it. And I'm going to turn off the circle and the zoom display so you can see it now. This is the sun and moon. And you may see it pretty well, but just for the sake of this, let's go ahead and give you a better view of it. This is the menu system, and everything orange, those 5 squares that are orange are Rise through Sunfinder, and then night photography. Like, if you don't know how to navigate to all the cool tools, that is going to be critically a mistake. You need to know what Planit has. So you needed to know this. Even though it's basic, you need to know this. For instance, this right here. Sun, moon, position. Sun, moon, finder. Whether or not you want the Milky Way center. Milky Way seeker. These are things that you will use that you don't realize that you want so bad. Okay, so let's go ahead, bring my zoom down to a different level so I can use it again for what I want, but turn it off. So please, all caps question. If it's like, Aaron, you showed me something that you thought I could see, but I need the zoom on it, hit me up with a zoom request, okay? So I am going to tap on first the sun. Well, no, let's do Milky Way Center. And the Milky Way Center app is this purple one. And when I look at this on the screen and go into the night, I get a Milky Way icon. Well, what if I was still on the sun app? It still shows me a Milky Way at night. During the day, it just shows me where the sun and moon's going to be. But when I get into the night, I start to see, okay, based off of August 10th, this is where the core is from this position. So now I know where to move my first position. Say, okay, I want to work with this rock and I want the Milky Way to go over it. If I went over on this side of the rock, that would be on the left of it too much, or the right of it facing south too much, and it would not be underneath my, or the Milky Way would not be around or surrounding my rock as well as I would like. So I'm going to set my camera position where, let's just make I'm going to see this green line right here. I'm going to make it go right over the peak of this rock, and let's see if that works. Okay, I'm going to hit this plus sign. This plus sign is very critical for knowing where to get into these markers, the location of the scene, the location of the camera. I'm going to hit the set this position where my reticle, that circle is. See that circle that's over the black area right now and now over the sand? That is saying, hey, that's where you're going to put down a pin, a marker, whatever you want. I'm going to put it over the peak here, hit the plus sign again, and say add a scene location. So now that I've set both of that, this is the equivalent of the max that you can do in PhotoPills. You got your position, you're looking at your location, boom. But because of the additional feature of setting a scene location and where you want to point your camera, you got some other functionality. Remember that other button down here? And this is another critical thing to know. This caret icon right there, it's a button as well, and when I hit that, I can make it be multiple things. I can make it coordinate and elevation, so I hit that. And I see here's latitude lines and elevation. All right, cool, that's information. If I hit distance and view, it says you're looking at the azimuth 180, practically virtually south, and it's distance of that from your camera to the subject. And the elevation change from your camera level to the height of your subject is 11 feet. So I'm going to keep going until I get to focal length. That's what I want, focal length. And now it shows me my camera. And if I want to get all of this in, I can't use my 50 millimeter from there. But what if I was really wanting to use my 50 millimeter and I want that whole rock in there without even having to use the third most critical tool in PhotoPills? I can just see, all right, well, let me move my camera, put my finger down, and watch where that focal length goes. Okay, this includes some of it. This includes all of it. And I'm going to go right there. That includes everything. Sweet. I know now to go to that position. And that exact position I can find myself at when I'm on location. This little button up here will show me my current location. And if I was there at Temple of the Moon, I would see my little blue dot on my phone where I'm at. And I just match it up and I can get right where I planned. From my couch, I decided I wanted to do this. And boom, there it is. I'm in location and now I'm right where I wanted to be. Again, this is another level of PhotoPills where it's like, yeah, that works great. But not only is this next feature critical to know, but it's my favorite feature, and it's the one reason why I come back to Planit. It's the one reason why when Kirk tells me, stop talking about PhotoPills, talk about Planit for photographers, I say, yes, you're right. I should talk about it more because this next feature, it's very awesome. So the circle, let's move it where you need to be. Right here, know this. This little part right here, this icon. Boom. That is the icon you need to hit. and it gives you options for AR, picture, street view, or viewfinder. And viewfinder VR is the best. I'm going to hit that right now. I have some elevation information to download. It's going to download to my phone real quickly. And then I hit this arrow up at the top left because it doesn't close for me automatically. And there it goes. It shows me this location. And I'm like, okay, all right. I can see what I'd be looking at from that position. And this red dot is my subject. Oh, I just moved the window thinking I was using my app. I got to use my finger, not my mouse. Okay, so this little red dot is my subject. I'm looking straight at it. Let's come out of this. Okay, looking straight at the red dot. Let's go back in Viewfinder VR. I mean, that's some good information, but I want a little bit more. Let me hit 3D, and now I'm going to get a little bit more information. So I see the big hills in the background that are going to be blocking my view, but I'm not seeing so much of that exact hill. And I think it's because maybe Temple of the Moon doesn't have quite the detail that Temple of the Sun did. And maybe that's where I'm going wrong right now, because I really want to show off Temple of the Moon. I really want to show off really cool 3D shapes. So let's go ahead and go back out. And let's move our camera to this other hill, this much bigger one that's going to have a bigger impression on us. And I'm going to move my scene location to the top of it. It changes it updates the focal length and shows, okay, here it's got a focal depth is showing that angle over here. Now you want the subject over there, so it actually rotated for me. Now I'm looking at the peak of it, and I'm going to go back into Viewfinder VR, and I'm going to start seeing what I see here. Oh, why is this so weak? Come on. I've actually used this recently, and it doesn't seem to be showing. 3D model feature activated, Pro feature activated. Okay, cool. Show my terrain. Oh, you're being boring. That's not cool. That's not cool at all. Maybe I'm just too far away. Maybe if I bring myself closer and do a larger focal length like 24, you'll see what I've seen when I was just talking to Rob about this and we were looking at Viewfinder VR. Oh, come on. Classic. When you're on live and thing goes completely different. All right, okay. So you're not giving me the information I want right now, so let's go somewhere else. Somewhere else that's going to give me an interesting shape, an interesting subject. We've done Shasta. Well, we haven't done Shasta, but we've done, the mountain in Oregon. What am I forgetting? I got to do something more interesting. I can't believe that disabled. Let's do Factory Butte, because Factory Butte is large. I'm going to hit that plus sign, set my camera location, and then put my circle on the peak of Factory Butte, hit the plus sign again, and hit scene location, and then beg it to do what I want it to do. Let's go to Viewfinder VR. Oh, we're getting something. We're getting somewhere a lot better now. I can start to see a shape. Let me go back out of this, and let's go from a position further away. So the shape becomes a little bit more, recognizably Factory Butte. And okay, we're good. Let me go back into Viewfinder VR. There we go. This is a defined piece of rock coming out of the ground that makes this feature look cool, where the other one was not giving me what I wanted, even though I have seen it right here on this app and actually worked perfectly. But, in the moment, it's not working perfectly. We will just settle for this. Factory Butte. So from this position, if I used a 38 millimeter, this VR viewfinder is so powerful that it's not only going to show me the shape of the terrain, and some of the smaller subjects like rocks, they will not show up. Hoodoos, Bryce Canyon shapes, they will not show up. Just the basic valley of it, the basic hill of it. The topography is not a high resolution enough on here to give you spires, but you can create markers that represent those spires if you know the dimensions. We've talked about that in the past. From here, let's just deal with this critical information of knowing how to get the Viewfinder VR to show up. And so here we are going to go and hit play. and watch how that Milky Way moves around this from this position. And I go, okay, do I like this? What if I made a change? I mean, do I want it to be a different part of the Milky Way? Do I want it to be up higher? I love the Rho Ophiuchi, and I can see that right here is the constellation Scorpius, and this is Antares right there, and I really want that to show up. Let me turn on the zoom and let you see more of this screen so you can see it nice and clear. Now that it's actually showing something cool and not what it was trying to show me for a while there. I'm going to do that so you can see the timeline here down below. So this is what I'm looking at and loving. And it's going to help me move around and tweak some things. So I'm like, okay, well, I do want to go off of this and see the Milky Way right over it. So I'm going to come out and I'm going to move my camera. Let's try further left. And then hit Viewfinder VR. Okay, further left puts the Milky Way on it already, and I'm liking that, but maybe this angle. So I'm going to push my angle here, and that azimuth of 202 degrees, you're not seeing it right now as I'm pointing to it. It's actually updating my position out here too. It's changing this for me. Watch, I move this over to the left and say I'm going to look to the left of it, go into Viewfinder VR. I'm looking, I guess, to the right of it, looking to the right of it, and there it is. So I can change exactly where I'm going to point the camera on top of where I'm going to place the camera. So now I'm looking at this and scrubbing through the timeline and seeing how it plays out. I'm going to hit play and just kind of watch. Yeah, okay, the Rho Ophiuchi is still visible. I can see the Milky Way. Oh, I love that position. Let me pause this. And let's say I love it when it gets right here. And I'm going to turn my camera up a little bit and go, all right, okay, maybe 38 millimeter would work. What if I wanted to feature it really strong, like an 84 or 85 millimeter? Now I'm featuring just the top. It's like maybe I'm too close. Maybe I'm too close to this rock to get the thought that I have. So I'm going to come and bring my camera way back out and see how it changes. Go back into Viewfinder VR, and now I'm looking way above it. But oh, okay, here we go. Now we can see how tight I'm on the Milky Way core, and now Factory Butte is back to being just about as much of the shape visible. So how are you going back and forth, John Deal asks. Well, when I'm going back and forth, let me turn off the zoom display, and I am using this right here. Like I showed you the hamburger menu, that location of the hamburger 3-line menu is the place where kind of the back button is for all of these prompts. So once I go into this spot down here on the Viewfinder VR and it opens up this new window, then I go up here and hit back, and it shows my screen, and then I can move things around. It's like, well, I really liked how that was looking, but I wanted to see more of the Milky Way. So I'm actually going to go back to being closer, and I'm going to change my focal length from 85 millimeter and just basically stretch it out. What if I use my 50 millimeter lens? I'm going to try and go to about 50 millimeter, or I could just tap that, choose 50 millimeter, and boom, let's hit Viewfinder VR, and you can see how that hamburger menu went back to being a caret to go back. So that's where you want to look, John, to go back and forth. So here, I'm liking this more. I'm cutting off the Rho Ophiuchi, though, a little bit. Let me back up and just make sure I can identify. Okay, here's the star that is the Rho Ophiuchi Antares. Right there. Let me turn back on the zoom so you can see it closer. This one right there is Antares. And as I'm watching that go by and settle, I'm seeing that it is still in my frame. So I don't have to move my position too much, and going over here doesn't crop it out. And that even kind of center weights the whole composition. I see a brilliant amount of the core, and I see the Rho Ophiuchi. Terrific. Well, what if I didn't know that offhand that that was Antares? What if I didn't know this information? Well, like John asked me, how do you go back and forth? There's also this right here, this green settings button. And when you're in the viewfinder and you hit the green settings button, it's going to open up just the settings for the green view for the viewfinder. When you're up here and you're looking at the hamburger menu, you can find all of the settings, like hit settings, and it shows you here's all the different options and settings that you can do. Well, when I'm in the viewfinder and I hit settings, it's going to open up just the pertinent settings for the viewfinder. So I hit that green settings button right there, and it's going to open up viewfinder settings. And from here, I'm going to make some changes. I want to see the star names. Right here, star names. I'm going to hit those and turn them on. How am I doing on time? Oh, goodness. This is only 3 of the tips in Planit. Okay, Aaron, you're going to have to shut up soon. PhotoPills, you have to really just bust through. Star names. I want to know the stars, and maybe I need the constellation lines to guide me because I don't know all the names of the stars. I just know that they're there. Now in the viewfinder, I can actually see this information. What if I zoom around and go, okay, this is a lot of different star names, so let me zoom in. That red one that I thought was it says Antares. Awesome. And as I zoom out and watch this transition through the sky, I can see that the constellation Scorpius, like I expect it to be, is right there. And it has so many other star names that it can be a little cluttered, which is why I turned it off. But if you need that extra guide and you want that extra help, you can use it that way to turn on that setting and make it so that you can see which one Antares is and which one is the Scorpius constellation. So now that's turned off again. Let's get the Milky Way in. That orange Antares is right there above the word 4 a.m. And I'm liking that. And I can plan out. If the moon wasn't up right now, I'd be like, let's do it. August 10th, I'm going to be out there and get that Milky Way perfect. So let's go ahead and tackle now the other tip. And this other tip is critical to know because if you didn't realize it was in here, you will miss out on fun with the moon, where I hardly ever say that sentence. Fun with the moon. Hardly ever. So I'm going to hit this back button. And let's say that I want to combine this tip with the upcoming annular eclipse. Oh. How do I get the eclipse information, Aaron? Well, one of these buttons along this menu system is it. Which one is it, though? I'm going to hit this caret, hopefully. Okay. I hit it in the first try. Yes. Now that menu pops up and I look and see, okay, sun, moon, stars, okay. Eclipses right here. So the green button in the middle was eclipses. Now that I hit that, I get this whole new option up here. Total lunar May 15th, 2022 is the setting currently. Let me turn on my zoom display so you can see what I am referencing. And let's go ahead, tweak this, tweak that, blah, blah, blah. All right. So I'll just go for the whole window so you can see it better. Up there, and I'll bring this over the chat. I'll bring it away from being over the chat is what I mean. Okay, cool. So now you can see that up here it says total lunar. Well, I'm going to turn this off for a second, and I'm going to go ahead and hit that button. It's a button, actually. You can tap it and change it. So I'm going to tap it, and I'm going to go, okay, well, which eclipse do I want? Some between 2001 and 2100? Yeah, okay. That's my entire life, and so, yes, all these eclipses that will happen. And I can go to, see, this is 2020. I can see 2022, and I'm going to navigate down to 2023, and here it is, annular eclipse. I got to check. Victor says, wouldn't it be helpful to have hover menu labels? Well, hover doesn't work on your phone. I mean, when you're using your finger, you just can't hover for a moment and have it give you a separate option. It's basically you tap it. If you're talking about like a drop-down menu where you tap it and then it gives you multiple options and then you choose from there, that is roughly some of the menu systems on here, but not all of them. So then here's annular eclipse, and I'm just going to tap that October 14th annular eclipse. Now this information, it says the solar eclipse overlay is shown. And well, where is it? Let me zoom all the way out. Oh, okay. Look at this. Here is the path of totality of the annular eclipse coming up in October 2024 or 23. October 14th, 2023. That's why I'm getting the 4 stuck in my head. Where the blue line is the absolute most totality, and then anything within this range has a different look. Well, let's look at this a little closer. Let's go back in to where we were at Factory Butte, since this is within the path of totality. So I have this annular eclipse idea now. Where does it show the moon? Well, it says it's supposed to be on these dates of October 14th, 2023. Well, let me just hit those dates. Can I get them to change to that date on my calendar? It usually does, but it's not right now. October 14th, 2023. And change. Oh, it didn't change it still. It's really stuck on this date. So let's just ignore the fact that it's not giving us that date and just change it ourselves. So we're going to change the date to 2023, October, and the time is not important as much as the day. So I'm going to hit up here. This is a very confusing part of this app. And so let you see this up close. This is where you can fumble a little bit. And it's not significant that you do. It doesn't break the app by any means. But you can see how there's... Oh, I wanted to click on the circle. Okay. You can see how there's October 2023 and an arrow down. Here's where I'm choosing the October. If I tap on this blue 2023 October again, it lets me see a calendar of October 2023. If I hit it again, it goes back to blue from being white text, blue text, white text, blue text, and blue text again. Okay. And I can choose my months faster, October, and then choose my year, any year I want. October 2023 is what I want, but I want specifically the 14th. So I hit that part, open it up, and now I'm going to go over here to the 14th and hit that. And then I hit done at the bottom here. This done. And that commits what I'm looking at. And so now you can see down here, it's October 14th, 2023, which is a Saturday. And now I'm seeing some information here on this semicircle. I'm going to look at this as the day goes through because I want to watch when this eclipse happens. So pay attention to that as I scrub down here with my finger. I just kind of push this back and forth, scrub the timeline, and see how the day goes here. Oh, okay, cool. You can obviously see the moon and the sun on top of each other. The partial begins at 9:09 a.m. This is 10:10 a.m. right now. And the full begins at 10:27, so I want to get myself to the full. What if I just tap this full begin right here? This is the full eclipse begin time. Press and hold to set it to the current time. So I didn't even have to change the date. I could have just picked one of these moments and then pressed and held and then say, what? Time-lapse sequence starting time. Okay, sure. And now it says the starting time, and, well, that's weird. Current time. Okay, that is confusing. Why are all these apps including confusing elements? Set the time to current time to me means today, August. But set the time of the current time on your timeline to that 1027 is what it's asking. I'm not even sure what the time-lapse sequence starting time is, but let's not worry about it. Just remember, hit current time. And it's like, okay, now the current time is 10:27 a.m. So I know that that's where the moon and the sun will be. I know that this is the azimuth. Let me hit this home real quick. It's saying that from your camera position, my body, is it going to be here, here, here? Where is it going to be on the azimuth? And it's saying it's over here, and my rock was over there. So I need to bring that rock in between me and that vector off of me straight at that annular eclipse. So you're going to see back on this where, oh, not that. I want to show it the cool way. There we go. And right here, I'm going to just grab this camera again, and I'm going to move it. And I can play around like, oh, look, I can put the eclipse right on top of that. Boom. I even got some haptic feedback where on my phone it kind of bumped. When it saw that I overlapped my scene location, it helped me really line it up. Boom, okay. All right, cool. Here we go. This is the other element of the app. I can plan exactly where the moon is going to be, but I'm already picked a very specific time and date. My last one I'm going to show you is one where I let it help me know the specific time and date to be there. But this is a very specific time and date that I'm choosing in advance, and we're going to see how it works. And what it's basically going to help me do is choose where I need to stand. So imagine I want to go to Factory Butte and see this annular eclipse. Let's find out. Let's hit this VR button. Hit VR, and now I'm looking from that angle of what Factory Butte looks like. And I'm kind of learning, oh, okay, interesting. Here's the tiny moon and sun, And this is not exactly the factory butte shape that I'm familiar with, but it could be really neat. Let's pretend like I just love that shape and I want it to work out. But I can see that there's this giant space between it. Let me show you in big. And let's go overlapping the chat and really go big. Yeah, right there. So look at this tiny dot right here. Oh, no, I don't want to move that. I wanted to move. No, come on. All right, let's go ahead and lock that display. Let's just click on circle so it knows I want circle. Okay, this is the tiny dot that is the sun and the moon. And why is it that way? Because it's saying, hey, this is what it is at 27 millimeters. At 27 millimeter focal length, that's how tiny the sun and the moon's going to look. So that's already helping me with 2 steps of this. Where to stand, how far back from the rock to stand, as well as what lens I might want to choose. So this far back makes it kind of difficult, but at the same time, it makes the sun and moon tiny. So I want to change some stuff, and you're going to not see this. Okay, let's just show it on screen. Here we go. I'm going to change my focal length, and I'm going to change it to 100 millimeters. All right, the sun and moon have become, oh man, I got to remember that that is not what I'm using. It's my finger down here. This is the sun and moon overlapping each other right there in my frame. Yeah, in my frame, but it's nowhere to be seen. The rock of Factory Butte is nowhere to be seen. I think I like 100 millimeter, but what if I went fully 200? All right, that's more like it. That's kind of a nice big picture. Well, annular eclipses, they look kind of interesting. Let's go 400 millimeters so you can see what I'm saying about interesting. Notice that at this point, at totality from Factory Butte, I get this crescent that is this underlapping shape. Do you recall my absolute favorite image of the eclipse? And that goes to Joshua Cripps. Let's open up Photog Adventures and go to Joshua Cripps Eclipse. And it's the really cool camel annular eclipse shot. Let's show this nice and big and ignore the hosting article. Goodbye. I don't care. Oh, wow. You're going to make me change the scroll now? This picture is awesome. And we're going to spend some more time talking about planning for the annular eclipse, but I just want to get you an idea of what the annular eclipse can look like. It's not a total eclipse. You don't get that jewel shape, the really cool spray. It's not a total eclipse. But it has an amazing sun. Just looks terrific. Where did you click to get the green camera view to show? Well, what I was saying, John, was that this, let's go back over here and minimize this. This is the green settings. This green button are the settings. It's green on the app, and so I called it green, but it's nothing about green camera. It's just lets me change the viewfinders, what it includes, whether it includes constellation lines, names, planet names, star names, a photorealistic Milky Way. It just gives me options of what to turn off and toggle on and toggle off inside the viewfinder's viewpoint. So if by green, sound is echoing. I think you're just hearing this. Let me just turn that off. Okay, let me know if the echoing is happening. Oh, no more echoing. Interesting. It echoed for a moment there. Echo, echo, echo. I'm not sure what caused the echo then, but hopefully all of that is cleared up. Where did you he says, where did you click to get the green camera view to show? And so I'm hoping that this is what you're referring to. This green button, that is the settings for Planet, right? And you click on that green button and it gives you these options. All right, cool. So back to Joshua Cripps's really cool picture, and let me go back to show the full screen and check that out. I mean, that is so cool. So that's the kind of shape, but instead of being up like this, think of it as underside, the opposite end from Factory Butte. That is what's going to show up on mine. Let me put in this one and the zoom display. You can see how it's just that same shape, but on the opposite side. And so knowing that's the shape, maybe I want to change my location because I can get that shape. Watch as the time goes by. Oh, it moves so much. You can see how it's a little bit bigger, and then it goes through, and oh crap, I did it again. I forget that this is not the controls. This is now the shape at this time at 10:37. And as I continue on through this, I get a moment where it possibly could look cool, but I believe personally, because the full end is 10:32 and this is 10:48, while there's a partial going on, it's so much of the sun being revealed that it is unblocking the sun and not making that same minimized light, and so it's going to blow out the shot in a different way that you're not going to want. So you're going to want to stay within the range of the timeline where it's towards 10:36 is the full end, and if I just hold down this and change it to the current time, it puts it exactly at that time, 10:32 a.m., and this is the shape. And if I just do a pinch zoom maneuver, with your phone, pinch and zoom, then you can see it really close and go, wow, if I want to fill my frame, what's it saying? Let's go ahead and move this zoom display. Up here, it says the focal length. And as I was zooming, let me do this again. As I was zooming out, it changes that focal length. And it's like, okay, if you want your frame to have this much sun, you need to get yourself an effective 1000 millimeter zoom in order to get the sun that big in your frame. So this information is really neat to have, and I wouldn't have seen the focal length if I hadn't changed this button, the critical button, and changed what is being displayed here, and I chose focal length, okay? So this is the full from this position. This is what the shape of the sun will be, and I really like that, knowing the peak of the rock will be underneath on kind of the negative space of the annular eclipse, and so I really want to line that up really, really well. Well, remember what was happening in the beginning? This rock wasn't quite there, and I have to tweak it by going zoom off. Ooh. And I have to go up here to use the back button, John, and then go back out here, and I can change my position further away or closer. In this case, I need to go closer to the rock where I can put more of it higher in front of me. And then I hit this VR, and now I can see that the moon and the sun are much closer to the rock. I will go into this in heavier detail on a Milky Way Wednesday that will do entirely dedicated to the annular eclipse coming up and give you all some really cool ideas of what to do. Aaron, I don't live in Utah. Where else is it visible? Hit this button up top here, and let's look at the entire path. So where do you live in the United States? Texas, New Mexico, Utah, Nevada, Colorado, and Oregon, and bits of California up here. So it's like, what could you work with that you like? Well, I mean, does Crater Lake end up being in this frame? Oh, look at that, Crater Lake. Crater Lake National Park, and if I zoom in all the way over here and say, okay, yeah, I'm going to go out and do the Watchman overlook position, and I'm going to go park right there. I'm going to go set myself up on this ledge where John Marilot and I were hanging out just a couple months ago now, holy crap, and I hit the plus sign, set my camera location, and then my scene location is still back in Utah, and that's the direct vector for that. But let's just say my scene is Wizard Island. I like the idea of Wizard Island. Plus scene. And now I go to view our finder. It's like, oh, you're in a new location. Let me download some topography here. So it's going to download the necessary topography, and then I hit my caret up there again and come out. And I look and see, okay, it's 68 millimeter focal length. I really don't see much of Crater Lake. But this shows Crater Lake's rim, as well as the height and the topography of Wizard Island. And there's the sun and moon. So it's like, yeah, all right, Crater Lake would be gorgeous, but I'm looking at such a high sun and moon, And let's see, at this location, the full begins 9:17 a.m. The max is at 9:19. Let me hold my finger down on that, set it to current time. Okay, all right, well, that's the position. It's still not much lower. I would have to be down at the water level to get Crater Lake cool here. So Crater Lake is awesome, but maybe not awesome for the annular eclipse. And so that's what you need to know. All right, the final thing, the final neat thing that you need to know, it's critical that you know about this app, is actually going to cost you some extra money. And this extra money, Andrea, late as usual. No worries, so am I. I'm behind time. It's 7:56, and I haven't done PhotoPills yet. So you'll be around for at least a half an hour of information, so no worries. And Chris is helping you, John. I hope you saw it in the chat. All right, cool. So here in the hamburger menu, I am going to hit it and show you these options. Let's turn on the zoom, and I am going to navigate this around to what is at the top of this page. I guess that's far enough. Let me go up. This is so much less fun than I want it to be. But up here, Planit Pro in this top corner, you can see that I have the Pro feature activated. And in fact, oh wait, why are you... I just want to move the entire thing, not, there we go, not just part of the inside, because I want to move that up so I can go down, and you can see I'm not even logged in right now, but it recognizes that I paid for the Pro feature as well as the extra 3D model feature. That's activated. And this is critical. So I am going to go, here's my plan still. I'm going to use this button, the search button, and this will let me go anywhere in the world. Space Needle was kind of cool, but let's go back to the Statue of Liberty. It's one of those items, lover, Statue of Lover, Liberty, Loner T. Jeez, lover and loner in the same Freudian slip. This is getting sad, Aaron. All right, Statue of Liberty. Now it takes me directly there. And one cool thing, once I have this 3D feature activated and it's on, it'll show me all of the actual elements on this screen that have 3D models. And everything with the blue square has a 3D model. For instance, let's zoom into Manhattan and see some stuff. All right, I'm going to tap on a random square. That one. The HSBC Bank Building. All right, I'm going to zoom in on it. And now that I've tapped on it, it shows me the actual geometry of it from the top-down view. This building next to it, there's the top-down view of its geometry. Okay, so from there I know that that will actually show me 3D modeling when I set my camera up next to it and have it on VR mode. So let me go ahead and set my camera position. Since my red pin is down, oh, you don't see that anymore, zoom off. Since my red pin is down, it's telling me, hey, which one of these do you want the red pin to be? Let's say it's my scene location right here. Man, this is so useful. I'm going to do it, but it's going to cost me a little bit more time. So let's go ahead and do that. Let's minimize the shape. Oh, come on. Minimize shape. Scroll all the way down, and then go all the way down here and maximize the size. Oh, this is so cumbersome. My apologies. All right, these four options: the camera location, the scene location, add a marker there, get some information, or your current location. This right here is what I'm going to hit. I'm going to hit the scene location. I want my scene to be that. But then I have this circle again, and this circle is not visible. Oh my gads. Don't move the chat. Why is that not locked? All right. So, gonna make this smaller again. Oh, it's so annoying how cumbersome this is. I really need to do something about making that easier. So you can see how on my screen there is now this circle. And this circle is where I'm going to put my next marker. What if I stood at the very end of the battery here and looked back at my scene? I don't think that'll work, but let's try it. Hit the plus sign and do set the camera location. So now I'm going to make sure I'm pointed towards my subject, and I'm going to be at 26 millimeter. I'm going to hit VR, and it's not only going to show me my subject, but it's going to show me all of the subjects in here that have blue markers that end up being the 3D models. I have some elevation information to download, and while I do that, I'm going to resize this so that I can get this to end up on the spot that I want. All right, let's go back. All right, cool. So let's go ahead and shrink this guy right on top of our viewfinder again. Oh, timing. Timing's everything. Which one I click first, mouse or keyboard? All right, so here it is, that window, all that 3D information. I'm going to make this massive, just let you see me. All right, this, in New York especially, there are lots of, oh man, this is really not updating. Come on, update. There we go. There's just too much information. It's streaming the information as well as trying to update, and it's like, whoa, this is too much. So I'm going to go out, and I'm going to go back to where I started with the Statue of Liberty. I'm going to click on it. I'm going to say it is my scene location. I'm going to put myself over here at a good spot, plus sign, camera location, and now I'm going to hit VR Finder, boom, and now we're going to see, oh, that's the Statue of Liberty, but it's way too small. I'm going to zoom in. Oh, yeah. Statue of Liberty. Look at that 3D geometry of the Statue of Liberty, and it shows me literally the torch. I can see the dimensions of the torch and plan around it. All right, I would really love to capture a moon right there. Man, it'd be so cool if I could plan it. All right, maybe I'll start just fumbling around and moving things. You don't have to do that. And this is critical. The final critical thing to know. This element right up here, there's an option for finding the moon and sun at a location. And until you go on there, you can also change camera height and settings. Chris Whiting points out. Yes, absolutely. And so let's look at which one is it. I can randomly start poking. That one, that one, that one, that one, that one. No, not yet. Or I can hit the caret at the top and now choose it. And which one am I looking for? I'm looking for sun and moon position or finder. Look at for finder, this one right here. The sun and moon finder. Oh my gosh, I want to zoom in. All right, I want to zoom in, and it's worth it. It's worth it. Tell yourself, Aaron, that it's worth it, even though this is going long. So this one, sun and moon finder, that's the one I want to hit. I'm going to just push on it right there. I'm going to turn off the zoom display, and you can see that it is now highlighting this one of the 5 orange buttons. And now I have a feature that you wouldn't even know was activated, especially with the zoom, the 2000 millimeter zoom that I have going on right now. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to zoom out, and I'm going to go all the way out until you see the feature. And this feature, oh my gads, where is it? This square is massive right now. Come on, square. Where do you want to be? You're just using the whole window. Come on, let me make that square much smaller. Okay, I'm going to change this elevation. I'm having to do this just to get a square in a viewable spot. So 30 elevation, and azimuth, I want it to be only at well, no. What is my azimuth currently? 110. I saw that right here it said 110 azimuth where I'm looking, so I'm going to choose that for my azimuth and say done. Done. Okay. Now it's put my square somewhere usable. All right, there it is. Do you see that? This feature right there was just completely off the screen. And let me show you what I mean. This guy, let's make this even smaller. Actually, no, you need to see the results. So I'm going to keep this right there, that big. Yeah, let's just make it size down a little bit. This is where you need a team, Aaron. You need a team to help you with this and make things easier. All right, so I'm going to temporarily turn off the live chat so you can't really see it. And I'm going to move this right I'll keep it where it was. All right, cool. So now you can see the information that's important. You see this green line and it kind of a circle. Well, if I go in and zoom in on that, you can see what it actually is. And it's basically a target area. And I'm going to move this out to the right and out to the left and make this box bigger and bigger. Now that it's a little bit bigger, I can put my finger on the middle of it and move it around the screen a little bit more. I want it to be not above the Statue of Liberty. I want it to be over the Statue of Liberty. So now I've moved with my finger, got it to a different shape, and I'm going to zoom in on it now. And it's going to keep updating the image in the 3D geometry of the Statue of Liberty so that I can kind of fine-tune it. I'm going to zoom in there, zoom in here. I'm going to make it so I can see the head and the torch. So now, what you may have noticed is that every time I change the shape, let me change the shape again. Actually, that's just zooming. Change the shape like this. It does a searching up there, 10 results. I change the shape over here, searching, 14 results. The smaller the space, the fewer results. And what are the results? Well, the results are, let me turn this off. You can see specifically I'm wanting to find a sunrise. Well, what if I tap on the word sun? Okay, I want it to be a gibbous moon, a full moon, a moonset, a moonrise. Well, I want a full moon. I want to see a full moon there in this square. And it says, ooh, there's one result. And I'm going to tap that one result. I'm going to turn the zoom back on. See that it says one result up here? I'm going to tap that one result and see. Okay, here's the one result, April 16th, 2022. No, it's already happened. The timing of it happening is there. Well, let's go back, hit the back button, and let's look at what it's looking through. Start date, January 19th through January 18th of 2023. Let's change this end date. I missed it, my finger missed. End date to being the next 5 years. So now it's giving me 2 results within that time. So happened to be earlier this year most likely for one result, and then the other result is now something in the future, also in April 22nd, 2024. I'm going to tap on that and it shows me with this 491 millimeter focal length from where I was standing, this is when the moon shows up within my square. Down here at the bottom, in fact, let me do this. I'm going to put this over everything so you can see it moving around. But at the bottom here, I am going to scrub the timeline and watch how the moon travels through. So what if it, I'm getting some haptic responses. My phone is kind of clicking and saying, hey, you're passing your subject. That red dot, that subject that you chose is the torch. And you can see how, oh my gosh, it's almost just right underneath it. Okay, how could I fix that? I just need to change where I'm standing. And most likely, because it's below my subject, I need to go backwards. If it was above my subject, I need to go closer to my subject to put it there. All right, my subject is Kathy's little puffin here, and this tower. This puffin represents chubby Aaron at his camera, and up here is the tower. I'm trying to get the moon. And let's just say that you, the camera, is the moon. Maybe that doesn't work really well. So I'll do it side by side for now. Aaron is this close looking up at the moon, and there is a cool Dove chocolate that is the sun. And when Aaron, let's just, between you and me, let's pretend like the puffin was actually the camera. So I can move this forward and have another free hand to move this. Here's this subject. It is, okay, the tower. And my target, the moon, is above it. So what do I need to do? How do I make this tower go up closer? Well, the closer I bring, let's see, this moon will stay the same, but this will come closer to you. Because the distance between me and the moon on the earth won't change very slowly to nothing. But I can get closer and parallax this tower closer to you where it's at the top of my frame, And then the further away I get from it, it looks lower and lower and lower in the frame and smaller. So what if I got right underneath the tower to the point where I put the moon right on top of it? So say I told you that it was below it. If I go away from the tower a little bit, I end up pulling this moon, like it's behind it. I go away from it. Now the moon rises above my subject, and that's how I figured out. So if your subject is above, you need to go closer to your subject so that you can put it there underneath. If your subject's below, kind of get back further from it so that it'll go in the right position. And let me show you in the app. So right now I've got the moon, it's underneath. Well, I'm going to go out of this and I'm going to make some changes here. Up here at this out, and I'm going to change my location of the camera. And let's just move me, okay, I'm on this grass, right? And I'm going to move my camera back, and where I go up and down, it gives me haptic responses on lining up. And I know, okay, I'm lined up still because I got a little bit of a bump on my phone. That kind of vibration showed me, okay, you're on the line. Let's try there. Viewfinder VR. Okay, the moon just moved up higher. Okay, I'm on my way. I'm on my way. Let's go back here. And now VR. Oh, I like that least. Okay, all right. It's not as good. Let's go ahead and show you the zoom again so you can see it nice and big. Going back out, and I'm going to grab this, and I'm going to move myself this direction a little bit and closer because I kind of liked that. All right, viewfinder VR. Oh, I moved way too much. Now the moon's far off to the left. Okay, all right. So let's go back where the haptic response is good and go right there. All right, boom. Let's pretend like that's perfect. It's everything I wanted. And now I'm going to scrub through this, and I can get a time lapse as it's kissing the top of the crown and then going through. What if I want to see this a little more controlled? The play button. Hit the play button. And it's going to move the moon slowly through here and show me, oh, the money shot right there. And then the moon escapes. So that is one of the critical tools that you should use. All right, let's recap this as best as we possibly can. All right, this tool right here, the smallest of the orange squares, you hit that and you get a separate little square that you can shape and move anywhere you want and make it work. What if I don't see it? What if this shape doesn't exist? You just click up here and change its altitude and change its azimuth, and you'll get that square or reticle to show up somewhere, and then you can resize it by just moving your finger. And as soon as you change that, it does a quick search and shows you something else. In fact, let's get this out of the way. So you can see up here the results. These results change every time I make a difference to this shape. All right? Where do you find that again? It's right here. And if you're not able to see that, or you don't even see these lines, you're seeing the menu system. You just go in here, and it's Sun and Moon Finder. Sun and Moon Finder. Click on that. All right? Critical step one. The other thing is you need to know that this information down below, you can set the camera location with this plus sign, and you can set the scene location with the plus sign. If you put your finger down anywhere and have a red dot, you can change, oh, here's my camera location, I want to be there. Or I'm on my red dot, let's put my camera location there. And it'll always just keep pointing towards your scene or your subject, and it'll always move that way. The other thing is, down here the square, you want to use Viewfinder VR. It's gorgeous, it's awesome. Let's come off of this tool where it just shows it. I can zoom out, and I can see the whole subject. Boom. Well, what if my subject isn't man-made or is man-made and I want to see it? The other critical thing is up here in the menu system, make sure you pay for the 3D model feature activated. Pay for that and you'll get all those 3D models. If you don't have them, you still will have the actual feature of terrain in the viewfinder. I have had Pro this whole time, so I don't even know if Planit Pro is the only option you have, and I'm guessing it is, to actually see Viewfinder VR. So if I went back to something like, let's do Mount Shasta. Mount Shasta, there. I'm going to set my subject as that, and I'm going to make my position right here, plus sign, set the camera location, kablamo, hit the viewfinder VR, and boom, there is what Mount Shasta would look like from that position. There's the full shape of the terrain, all because I have the Pro feature for terrain activated, and if I wanted to, I can hit this 3D button and get some even more topography data. And you can see how this became far more detailed. And you can zoom in on it and see how, okay, there's tons of lines showing all sorts of topography and shape. So if you want to have the 3D models show up in the viewfinder VR, make sure you pay for the Pro, as well as that's how you activate it using these options. I've lost track of all the numbers of fives. Oh yeah. Don't forget this button and this button. They're tiny, they're well hidden. You don't realize that they really even exist sometimes, so they're critical to know in Planit. What I'm saying are these buttons right here and right here. Right here, you hit that top one. If you hit it right, which I have failed more than once, all right, then it shows you, oh my gods. Then it shows you all of these menu options just quickly and what they are, so you don't have to try and guess what the squares are. If you hit the bottom one, you get to choose what information is showing up, depth of field, the focal distance. You get to see a panorama tip. It's like, okay, here's your panorama, here's all the location. You can set yourself up at different focal lengths. It's like, what if I did a 24mm panorama? Now it says it's going to be 3 images only. Look up here, 3 images. I'm going to change this focal length to a 35. Now my 3 images showing that location is 5, and I can change my direction. It doesn't matter. It's just at that focal length, you're going to need at least 5 images to get it at the 40 degree, right? Blah, blah, blah. 2 rows even, if you wanted to get everything top to bottom. So this feature down here, this little button, is really, really, really useful, and you're going to want to have it on focal length almost most of the time. I love it. I love the focal length feature. All right, cool. Those were all 5 in the Planit app. Patrick says, hey, Pat, welcome to the Milky Way Photographers Guild, by the way. I saw that you joined. Which in-app purchases are required to get demoed features? The thing is I probably can't say with certainty because I've had the Pro version since I bought it. Basically, there's a free Planit, and there's also Planit Pro. Planit Pro cost me $10 when I got it. I just bought it. I didn't use the free one. I'm not even sure the free one existed back then. And then I have those Pro features, everything on here. I didn't have to buy anything more until I wanted to see 3D models, and then I listed the 3D model feature, and I paid extra for that. I think it was like, man, it was like $5. I think it was like $5 a year. Planit Pro 3D model feature. Let me just see if I can get a quick information from the website. Yingwen Tech, Planit for photographers, plan the shot, yada, yada, yada. Nope, it's just giving me kind of everything here. What about the extra costs? Features. No, it doesn't quite have the cost here. Darn it. Let's see. Can I get an answer somewhere? Nope. 3D modeling, SketchUp, yada, yada, yada. And a YouTube video talking about it. Intro to 3D model, marker sharing. Yeah, it doesn't exactly give me the idea of what it's going to cost, but it was very, very little. It was well worth it. Absolutely a must buy. There's a $99 Location Explorer. What is that? For $99, you can get a Location Explorer? Interesting. Cool. I'm not sure what you mean exactly, Pat, but sounds pretty promising. So then let me move this app in the right position. Yeah. Over and down. Okay, cool. All right, the Monkey Man, Riker, says, I'm a little late, but better late than never. Exactly, Riker. Hey, what's up, man? So let's do PhotoPills very fast, but thankfully PhotoPills doesn't have as many crazy features, and so it's easier to talk about. So, PhotoPills. Oh, wait, what? It doesn't actually, it changed them for both. That's right, I duplicated it. Yeah. Okay. because I duplicated it, basically the asset I'm pointing to is pointed in both of them. And so I have to manually change this right now to say PhotoPills. So now down below me, it's saying PhotoPills. Cool. I'm going to get out of this app. I'm going to go to PhotoPills and show you the 5 critical things you need to learn. And the first absolute critical one for Milky Way photographers is simply moon. Moon, right there, that pill is brilliant. And the reason why I love moon is because I can quickly see information that's going to help me plan everything. And what it is that's helping me so much, let me add my zoom back. You know what? I'm just going to go over here because everything's there. Booyah. I have this. I have the zoom display. So you can see right here, it's starting off at 12 a.m. and then goes down to the galactic center. It's just what happens this morning. The first event in this 24-hour clock is a galactic center becomes no longer visible. And so this whole thing is a 24-hour timeline starting from whatever day you are up here. So the day that you see up there, August 10th, and then this goes up and down through all of the options. Some months there's very little. For instance, if I go down on the calendar down here, hit this button, and then change it to something like November 1st, they have, looks like that happens to be the first quarter, and then the Milky Way goes on, and right now I am seeing a moon set, sunrise, and the time was 7:55 a.m. Then a moon rise at 4:46. Interesting. It sets 12 hours before, as it's in November, right? So I was thinking that it was a.m., 4:46 a.m., but no, that's just 12 hours away. So then the next thing is sunset in 6:24 p.m. And then there's a little bit of Milky Way. A little bit of Milky Way. Unfortunately, the moon was rising, and so it's up during the entire minutes of 7:54 at 8:37. And that information is all based on my location, which is right now Escalante. Looks like it's Escalante on there. So this right here, this opening of seeing the Milky Way, seeing the galactic center, and when it stops being visible. In many cases, this is just because it got dark enough, and then it stops being visible because it gets brighter. But in this case, in November, it actually says right there, set. It says that it sets. Let me show you what I mean in zoom form. La da 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 da. So many things to change. All right. So now you can see that it says set. This one, the elevation of it is 6.1 degrees altitude in the sky. That's where the core is. And the visibility started at 74 because sunset happened and twilight periods went by, and now it finally shows me that. Well, then at 8:37, it's already no longer visible because this has set. Now, as we all know, because you've done Milky Way enough, it's not that the whole Milky Way band is gone. It's just the core, that one point in the center of it, has dipped below the horizon. So even though that one point is gone at this location as of 8:37 p.m., 8:40, 8:45, even 9:15 still has plenty of visible core. And let me show you what that looks like in critical information number 2. When you come out of the moon pill, you go into Planner, and the Planner will show a location and all this information. But what I'm wanting to look at is this right here. So critically, if you don't know, I'm just going to tell you this other tip. This whole section up here has buttons, and it has different functionality. So for instance, I can swipe over to the right and get to eclipses and meteor showers. I can swipe to the left and go through Milky Way location, the galactic core timeline, the twilight periods, where the moon is setting, the sun is setting and rising, and pin-to-pin geodetic info and shadow, okay? So all of these things are up here at the top, and you should know, a bonus to this, is that these are buttons, that when you hit that, it'll activate shadows and turn them off. It's a toggle switch. So imagine that you were looking at your PhotoPills app and you didn't see the concentric rings right here. Well, the reason why you wouldn't is because you have this feature. This button is turned off. And right here, toggling that, toggles my rings. Toggles them off and on. So if you don't see that, scroll at the top of your phone until you get to Visibility GC, Galactic Core, and then hit that button that's most likely looking like that, all grayed out. Tap it, and boom, it turns them on. And I want to show you specifically, oh, not that. I want to show you specifically the galactic core right here. Watch what happens as I scrub the timeline. I'm going to go down here and pull to the right and left. And I'm going to first pull from the left to the right, or I'm sorry, right to the left, to make sure that this shows you the whole motion of the time of the Milky Way core. And it's set for Monday. I'll move this Monday right now, and October 10th, 2022. So if I want to change this date, I can tap on the clock in the middle there. Let me just show you. You tap on this clock, not the middle clock. You hit the middle clock once, it'll go there. If you tap the middle clock twice, it'll just change it to current time. Now it says August. Well, I'm going to tap this clock or the numbers, whatever, and just get this prompt up here, this whole pull up. And now here I can change myself all the way to November, where I was telling you that it's not very visible, very long, November 10th. Now you can see the information, and let's give you a zoom camera now. You can see the information right here. Oh, you got stuck to my mouse. And pull this bigger. Oh, whoops. Let me make this taller and then make this bigger. Okay, so now you can see it's darker, so it's harder to see, but these gray lines right here, they're showing me when the Milky Way becomes visible at the beginning gray line and then go to when it's no longer. That core is down. So notice that the whole Milky Way is made up by these dots, and then the core is a dot that has a line through it. If I look at what this shape is, and you're not seeing it currently, let's go ahead and do this change again. Oh, man, I'm hoping you're not as tired of it as I'm getting, but it's really crucial and beneficial to let you see it large, you know? So it's just too good to do. So now you can see, I'll put it over here on the right. So you can see up here in this corner on the right, you're seeing this zoomed in. And as I move my timeline, the Milky Way core is moving. And so I'm going into the night. Here's the Milky Way. Yes, it's tilted off to the right in the northern hemisphere, and the core has set at this point. But look at all of this information up here that is still visible. Maybe this one point right there in the dead center has gone below at 7:26 p.m., but it's going to show the rest of this still for quite some time before it actually, oh, let me hold that down again, before it actually goes so far that it's no longer as fun to look at. So you can see how the balls of the Milky Way core have bigger ones, smaller ones, and the biggest one is where the galactic center is, that circle, the dot, I should call it, easier said, dot. If I tap, critical thing, on this app bonus, because I told you these are buttons, in this case where this one's a button, you tap it once, it goes to the next new moon. You double tap it, it goes to previous new moons, and it goes to the exact days of them. So this is a July Milky Way new moon, and here's a June one. You can see more clearly the smaller dots leading up to the fattest dot where this line is, and then goes down to these other ones. So this section where it goes from these dots are all above the horizon, and then finally these ones kind of set, and it becomes kind of the lesser part of the Milky Way spiral, the lesser stars and less interesting detail, and that's what's visible still in November after that point, but only for maybe an hour. And so it starts getting deeper and deeper, and it's worth going and getting food. So this is a critical step to know that these things are buttons and that this is the Milky Way band right here, and knowing what the Milky Way looks like. The moon pill. Let me show you another feature that is critical. And I am going to pull this down. Make this much bigger. Cool. That way we got a usable zoom for the main part of the planner pill. And I will keep those elements up here. I'll make it just float over the chat. That way I can keep it going and tell these rest features. So you go back, and the thing that you must do when you first get this app is do your settings. So go back on My Stuff right here, and then you can go down to Settings, and you need to set and adjust this setting right here. How tall are you? Device height down there. I'm 5 foot tall, and my camera is really, like when I hold out my phone like this, it's about 5 feet of my 5'5" stature. It's not much. So you got to set that right so it knows how high up to put you from the ground in the AR modes, as well as you want to set yourself, where is it? Okay, here we go. Yep, I see it now. Canon, the camera is set currently for Nikon D850 because I was showing someone with their Canon or their Nikon D850, and you can type in, oh, I have a Canon and it's a 5D Mark IV, so start doing 5D, and it starts filling out Mark II, Mark III, Mark IV. Okay, boom, I have a Canon 5D Mark IV. You tell it which camera you have so that a lot of these features will work precisely with your device. For instance, when you go back into pills and you go to spot stars, that as a Milky Way photographer, you might ask, what kind of shutter should I use? And this will answer that based off your camera. So you can see my camera is up here, Mark IV, and I can set in the camera lens. I'm going to be using my 24mm Rokinon, and I usually stop it down from f1.4 to f2 for coma reasons. So let's change that to f2. And then I want it to be accurate, or do I want it to be default, barely noticeable trails? Let's go ahead and do accurate. And then I get what is down here. You'll see the MPF rule and the 500 rule. Classically, the 500 rule will say 21 seconds and you're not getting star trailing. But with the MPF rule, taking into account your megapixels of your camera, the sensor information, and some math, they give you, most likely you're going to get star trails after 4.57 seconds. So my rule of thumb for beginners on this is use the spot stars and just add 4 seconds. And so 8 seconds is what I do on my 24mm Rokinon f2 on accurate. I want to really keep it as tight as possible, and I do it for 8 seconds. Thomas says, blown mind, getting a lot out of this one. Oh, awesome. You're welcome. I'm glad that you are. He never noticed the Milky Way angle up in the upper left corner. Yes, see? Haha. Helped someone. Sweet. So then spot stars tool. That is a critical thing for you as a Milky Way photographer. Then you've got the moon pill. The planner pill I just mentioned quickly. There are so many more things inside there, but you will use the planner pill, the moon pill. You will use spot stars once, and you will use night AR all the time. But I want this tip to combine everything. There's going to be AR modes showing up in places you didn't expect. For instance, let's do a hyperfocal table. Let's tap on that. And using my Canon 5D Mark IV's information, it's going to tell me if I'm at f2.4 and I'm using a 24mm lens, my focal length is 26 feet 3 inches. All right, so I'm going to use my f2 setting on a 24mm Rokinon. Okay, right there, 31 feet 6 inches. Great. Well, you asked me about my cat's top over here. Let me show you. So down here, you may not have noticed, but there's an AR mode. And so when I hit AR mode, it shows where my feet are standing. Meow. Yes, hi. All right, you're really zoomed in right now. Don't jump up right now. I can't have you jump up. So this is going to be on my AR mode. Standing here. Let me pull my mic up to me. I'm standing here, and I'm going to look up at my camera. So now I have in front of me this blue line that says, hey, everything out at that distance and beyond is in focus. But if I see anything in the yellow part right in front of me, like that chair would be out of focus. But that part of that closet would be in focus. And I continue through. If I took a picture of my cat sitting over there, it would be. Well, what if I have an iPhone 13, Aaron? Down here, you may notice this is a setting. I can tap that and change it from my 3 lenses. Let's use my really wide one. I guess 26 is closer to what I'm looking at. Here's my whole room. Here's my light setup. And then Toth hanging out at my computer. All right, so this right here, let's go with the 26mm. It's closer to what lens I'm going to use, and I can see it better. Feet all the way up here. All right, cool. So anything within that blue circle is going to be a little bit out of focus, and I'll have to focus stack. So that is because all of these little different apps, all right, Toth, sorry, you gotta go. Goodbye, girl. Move along. Move along, cat. All right, so in these apps, you will notice that down here is an AR mode. For instance, my absolute favorite, most critical element, the best thing in PhotoPills is found in the planner. And down here, yes, okay, AR mode, Aaron, and night AR mode. Boom. Well, we'll talk about that in quick fast. Just AR mode, what's included in AR mode? AR mode is just the sun and the moon. It'll show me, okay, where they're going to be. Okay, I'm not even seeing the moon. Double tap to right now. Okay, here we go. There's the moon. Here's the pathway of the moon and where it would be. And the sun on August 11th, 2022. That's AR mode. The AR mode right here is just the sun and moon. But night AR has more information. And when you get in night AR mode, now you start to see this circle right here that's showing me the Milky Way band. In fact, let's pull this over to an earlier time. And I'll show it up there so you can see it a little bit more. Right there is the core, and you can see where the Milky Way stretches through the sky. But you'll also see the moon, and you'll also see, well, you won't see the sun. You'll just see the moon, the Milky Way, and wait, what are these dots? These dots are actually moving along these lines. Well, what if I look directly north? And it's like right sun. All right, look at the dots. They're kind of circling around that North Polaris. Yeah, that's right. This is going to show you, in fact, let me go wide angle so you can really see it. This is going to show you how the stars will move if you made star trails. So if I look directly north at my broken light up there, you can see how it's going to make concentric rings around. But if I focus down below, I'll see how my stars are going to start here and work their way up over Tenzin and go up at this angle and create the curve that is on these blue lines. So if I had a subject over here and I wanted to see it, let's choose my blue light. I'm going to have lines going up like this in the middle that are totally straight, but then on this end they kind of curve like this, and on this end of the framing they'll curve like that. And if I want to hold my camera in landscape orientation, ooh, you don't see it that well in the video, so I won't use landscape, but that's the idea. So night AR includes the star trail lines. They also show the moon and the sun, the Milky Way. All right, cool. What I want to show you is this. Many of you have heard this many times, but I'm going to remind you. The find tool down here. This thing is brilliant. I hit find, and now it has this menu: sun at azimuth, sun at azimuth and elevation, moon at azimuth, and moon at azimuth and elevation. Remember that sun moon finder tool in Planit? This is a different version of it that is very helpful on location. And it's possible to plan away from location, but if you're on your couch, I would use Planit and not this. But if you're standing in the middle of Bryce Canyon and you found a cool rock and you want to know something about it, use this. This works terrific. Okay, so only moon and only sun's included. It doesn't have like a Milky Way core thing, unfortunately. So let's do a moon. We're going to hit moon at azimuth and elevation. And now it gives me this page. And I saw this page and I used it and I was like, that's kind of neat, Rafa, but okay. He's like, oh, but you don't realize it. Down below, there's an AR mode. It's like, oh my gosh, these AR modes sneak in on everything. So first thing I'm going to double check is this. Okay, the date range that we're looking. Anything from now, September 21st, I guess back then, to September 28th, 2026. All right, cool. And then this azimuth and elevation is where I'm saying I want my target to be, but we're not going to worry about that because this AR mode is brilliant. All right, I'm going to have to show you a black vision just so it doesn't get confusing, but I'm going to tap the AR mode and look as it goes into the AR mode. You've got on the left the really wide angle view of the sky, and pretend like I want a subject that's over here in the west. And I really love, in fact, I better do not black so you can see it, kind of compare. I'm going to change it from 13 millimeter to 26. And let's say that my Canon camera right there was the subject of a cool rock, but it's really low to the ground. And I'm like, man, does the moon ever show up on that rock? Well, in the AR mode, you can tap anywhere and place a moon. And so I'm going to place the moon right there. When does it ever show up there? I'm standing on location. I can see exactly where it is. Hit done. And now it's automatically filled in and said, hey, here's the elevation, 10.37 degrees, azimuth 267 degrees, and change. And then I go, what do? This little thing right here, this little hidden as ever magnifying glass. You would never know this. I don't know why they do this, but that's the commit a search button. It's not a I need help, help me out button. It's a commit the search, find for me now. So then it says, okay, here's the moon and all the times that it's there, and everything grayed out on my list has already happened, and everything not grayed out is in the future of right now. August 28th, 2022, the moon is there. But it's saying that it's actually during the sunset. This is during the daylight. This is during night, and it's a full moon. That's way more like it. Is there like a cool blue hour moon? Ooh, wait, that's kind of a gibbous, or is that a full? It's hard to tell the full from the gibbous in them. This is obviously not a full, but this one, it might be full. So what do I see? That's April 4th, 2023. It's on that location. I'm going to tap that, and it immediately opens up my map, my planner, and shows Tuesday at 5:43 a.m. on April 4th, 2023. And is that moon full? Let's find out. Looks like a pretty good full moon to me. You can see that this right here is just missing a slight bit shape, and it's like, ooh, that's almost it. Waxing gibbous phase. You can see that up here, waxing gibbous phase. When I went to sun moon pill right here, remember this button? Just the sun now. Now it's just the moon. Now it's neither. Now it's both. That's a button. And I'm seeing the moon is actually waxing gibbous phase. All right, cool. So it's very, very close to a full moon, and it's going to be right over my subject. And it's like, oh, that's almost perfect. I think I'm going to go for it because it's going to be close enough, because I know that from this position it can work. And the reason why this is so sweet, oh no, Thomas, you're hitting me up with a subject that I only found out recently that even existed in PhotoPills, because I'm really bad at looking at my app. Just going into the chat so you can see what Thomas asks. He's like, hey, over here, isn't there a feature that shows how big the moon will look relative to your subject 2? I would say go into Planit to see it, because you're going to see it in visual form. It's much easier. But yes, it does actually show it. And let me show you here what I mean. When I'm in this tool and I've set this location, you might notice this dotted line. And the dotted line basically gave this infinite line for where my subject is going to be. And I happen to be at the north rim at this location. And so what happens is when I go back to the pin-to-pin geodetic info, it has extra information now underneath the distance, azimuth, and altitude difference. It says the moon height is that 11,475 miles from the black pin, and the size will be 207,000 feet. It's like, okay, interesting. Let me tap that. It doesn't change the information any more than that. And it doesn't quite give me more information there. Now, I say that I'm new to this because it might be told somewhere else, but I'm not getting that information right here where it talks about the size. Now, if I were to say, go to my pin-to-pin geodetic info, turn it off and on again, it shows it down here at the center. And it says the galactic center height from the pin is that, and if I move this towards where the moon is, the moon height is about size 50 feet. You can see that right here, and the height from the black pin, because these things, the other one, it didn't have the black pin within the frame, so it didn't have a reference point for how far out it would be. So for instance, let's go down here, and this is the last critical step I wanted to show you, and it's this loading and actions. Like, you can save and load. I'm going to hit load and do a point of interest, and I'm going to go back to Factory Butte, and I'm going to hit Factory Butte, and now it's loading Factory Butte on here. And what you're not seeing is Factory Butte down here below. So then, if I wanted to have the moon on top of Factory Butte, let's do a rising moon. So let's say I'm going to be on the left side here, and I'm going to try and get a rising moon. Well, all right, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to press this button up here, turn it off and on. It resets my black pin here at the bottom of the middle of the screen and allows me to move that right here on top of Factory Butte. See how the pin's moving? I'm going to go right there. All right, altitude 5948, difference of 1,000 feet, and it's 7.3 degrees apparent altitude from my camera. Basically, here's my camera and here's my mountain up this high, so it has that angular altitude of 7 degrees. All right, with this information now, it says my moon height is 311 feet from the black pin, and the size will be about 74 feet. So based on my pin location, my size is 74. What if I move my pin closer? Now my size is 36 feet. So the closer I get to my subject, my moon becomes smaller and smaller size in comparison to that location. So what's it trying to tell me? I'm making a guess here, to be honest, that in my frame, that size is 19 feet. Oh man, I'm really guessing, because if it's negative 415 feet from the black pin, then the size will be about 19 feet, but 19 apparent feet based on that rock. But if I come out farther from the rock, it gets bigger and bigger and bigger on it. Yeah, that makes sense, because let's use, why'd that get so stuck? Let's use this stone and go into it here. And this is my guess. Here's the moon, the tip of this cap. In fact, let's just unscrew it and not use the bottle. Here's the moon, and here's my rock. My rock is this shape. When I'm up close to it, man, let's try and get it to focus on here. My moon takes up this much shape of the rock. When I start, let's just keep the moon back further and move the rock closer. Now the moon is smaller. Like it's like, okay, right here. See how in this position, being closer to the rock, the moon is a smaller segment of that rock wall. But when I get further from the subject, now it's taking up more. If you want to see it, I don't have a ruler, but I think you get the idea that I'll put my finger in here too. So it's about the size. Let's just use my finger only. My finger, it's basically the same size as a knuckle when I'm up close. But when I go further away and the moon's still behind, like, okay, closer and behind, if I get closer to my subject, the moon is barely like the tip of my finger. But when I move the finger closer to the moon, it's starting to fill up like the whole first knuckle. Do you see the difference there? I believe that's what it's trying to tell me, is that the apparent size of the moon will take up about 15 feet. What was it again? Bum, 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 bum. It was, it's gone. Oh, there it is, up there. Right, it's 130 feet right now, but I move my pin closer to it, it's only going to be 51 feet. So if I have a subject that I recognize is about 30 feet wide, and I want the moon as big as that 30 feet, it'll help me decide, all right, there you get about 31 feet on it, and so the moon will be about as big as the 30-foot subject. But if I go really far away from my subject, now I made my subject tiny, and the moon's going way beyond that size. PhotoPills is nice, but man, if you use Planit for the same thing and use that finder tool right there, and then go in and say, boom, I want to see Viewfinder VR, and go, all right, well, here's Shasta. I want the moon to be right on top of it, and I'm not only having to visualize it in my brain, I actually have an absolute visual right here, and I'm going to key in right on that peak. Notice that it says no results. No results for the full moon. Okay, well, what if I made this just a little bit bigger? Any results? Searching, searching, searching. No results. Make it taller. Searching, searching, searching. No results. All right, maybe my camera is too far away. So I'm going to go out and I'm going to move my camera in closer to the subject, which makes the angle higher in the sky that the moon could be. Go to Viewfinder VR. Move my square again. Oh, man, it went all the way to the bottom. And now what am I going to see? No results. So if I want to try and find this, I'm going to make my square as big as possible over this. All right, 37 results. Let's go to one in the future, 2023 June. All right, that's where the moon is. Okay, so now I'm getting an idea that the moon is much higher. So I'm going to just go in a little closer, go back into VR mode, and see. Okay, now we got the moon right there. So now I'm going to try and target Shasta right at the peak. Make it a much more narrow shape. Searching, searching, searching. 12 results from standing at that location. I can get the moon and Shasta to look cool. I'm going to change my focal length to something like 110. No, change it to 150. Let's go 200. Full 200. Cool, cool. Now I get a moon that starts to look really big on the peak of Mount Shasta. And now at the, directly above Shasta, it's this big compared to this much space. And you can see how the moon is a very, this is the size of the subject and the size of the moon. So this is the size of the moon, and this is the size of the peak. And then I go out, and like we were talking earlier, I move myself further away from the subject, hit VR. Now the moon is about as big as, let's go right here. Okay. All right. So now it's right on top. Boom, boom. That's a lot more mountain feet of the top of the peak that the moon is covering. And if I was closer, it covers less of it. Remember, let's just end it right here with a little reminder of Mark G's video. And Mark G has a fantastic time lapse with the moon where it's over a subject that people are walking around on. And when they're walking around, they get silhouettes of them with the moon behind them. And I'm going to show you my full screen here. So this is just the time lapse. It's going to start playing, and I'm going to turn off the music. I don't think it'll happen, but you can see the moon rising over here and underneath our text. And the moon eventually rises up, and so that amount of space, like you can start to see some of the railing right here, and then the walking path that people are going to be on, that has a specific feet distance. And being at this specific distance from it, he was able to make the moon the right size to show people in a good silhouette, pretty large, walking up over here and that moon size. And so I think that's where Thomas even asks, is like, how big would the moon be to a subject? If I knew that this thing was about 100 feet long, then I want to get to a distance where the moon's about 100 feet wide to it. And then it will then do what Mark G's time-lapse does, where it will completely engulf it in that shape and not be something too small or too big. Yeah, Thomas knows that. That's an awesome time lapse. Need an 800mm lens now, he says. Yeah, it depends. Depends on where you place yourself. And if the subject's tall enough, a less lens can work, but you don't have, you have to be able to get that right distance from it with no obstruction that it ends up being where you want it to be. So you were using Planit to give you a better visual representation, Vic says. Yeah, exactly. Absolutely. This has been a 2-hour Milky Way Wednesday. The 30 of you that are hanging out with me this long, I just love you for doing it. And I apologize that they're basically 1-hour lessons for both. Planit is much more powerful than PhotoPills. PhotoPills I love for that quick instant access. Like when I want to know the information on, is the moon going to be in my way? Is the moon going to look okay over here? Or is the Milky Way core going to show up where I want it? I'll just check quickly on PhotoPills because I can very quickly get it to work. In Planit, if I want to sit on my couch while I'm watching a movie and I plan an actual Milky Way position shot, or sit there and plan the annular eclipse to have that perfect shape over a perfect subject, I'm going to want Planit for that. Super helpful, Pat says. Thank you. Oh, you bet. Absolutely. Thanks so much for hanging out. This is a beautiful time lapse from Mark G. Absolutely love this. And I shouldn't even call it a time lapse. It's not a time lapse. It's just straight video. He recorded a video for a few minutes as the moon rose over these people, and it's just awesome. Tom says, I got a 400 millimeter f2.8 plus the 2x TC, the teleconverter. I'm going to play around with that tomorrow. Oh, nice, Tom. Yes. Is tomorrow the full moon? I don't even pay attention to that. Dave says, thanks for the info, Aaron. You're welcome, everybody. Thanks so much for hanging out with me. I'm going to let this keep rolling. If you have any questions, you've got 10 seconds. In fact, I guess 30 seconds from now will be your opportunity for me to see what you've written, just because of the delay between us on the live stream. Yeah, Chris actually pointed out, real time, not time lapse. Yeah, exactly. I realized I kept saying time lapses. Thomas, awesome, Aaron. Glad I caught you tonight. Glad you could join me too, and join me for as long as you did. It's been fantastic being back here. I think it's going to be fun next week with my new lighting. I hope it felt, quality. It was definitely better than the bright sun that I had going last time. Tim, do you have time to answer my email I sent today? Ooh, Tim, let's tackle it, you and I, and if anyone else wants to hang around for it, they absolutely can. Did you send it to Aaron King, or did you send it to Milky Way Photography, Milky Way Wednesday at gmail.com? Remember, everybody, that this email address right here is milkywaywednesday@gmail.com. You can hit me up with questions there, and I will tackle them in Milky Way Wednesday so that you can get some help one-on-one, as well as we can share with the group on what you're asking to learn, and they can learn from it as well. Boom, it's not in there, so it must be over at Aaron at photogadventures.com. So I'm going to go over there real quick. I had my kids over the weekend because I've been gone for 6 weeks, and I am behind on emails, and I have emails I'm sending out, and so I am behind right now. But Tim Bradley, there it is. All right, let me just make sure. Okay, nothing too personal there. All right, so he's saying, hey, Aaron, I was in Kauai last month and got to shoot the Milky Way during a new moon. I was blown away with the core up at 35 degrees instead of my normal 13 degrees up here in the Pacific Northwest. Yeah, I bet that looked awesome. My question is, why did I get a white balance shift sometimes during shooting? As you can see, it was the next frame. Is there an attached image? Oh, yeah, there is. Cool. Let me go ahead and download this and open it for all to see so we can celebrate what worked and what didn't work. Oh, I don't want it to be that. I want you to show me in the folder. Downloads and Milky Way color shift. All right, cool. Let's maximize this and share the screen. All right. Oh, I shouldn't maximize it fully. I should just do this. I might be too loud to whistle in this mic. Sorry. All right. So here's the color shift. He has one here taken. Oh, there's no timestamp, but at least this one versus this one is obviously much cooler than that one. So the question I would immediately ask is if you're on auto white balance. He says, as you can see, it was the next frame. This happened to about 6 frames out of my 45 on my Canon 6D. The white balance was set on auto white balance, and it shifted to 2400 very blue back to 4500. The fuzzy tan in the blue shot is the white water of the surf. Did the camera pick that up and changed it? Well, that's the thing about auto white balance, is that it can adjust based on what it's seeing. And immediately I look at this and see this different white foreground versus this one and say, that's probably what it saw, and made some adjustments based off of the white that showed up here, where you don't have the white in this one. And that's my initial guess, is that the added element of wave light, white colors, made it set it for a different setting. I would never take Milky Way photography on an auto white balance because of this happening in your camera. Is it terrible? You shot in RAW. You can always change it. Yeah, it's not going to ruin anything, and you can adjust it. If you're doing a panorama, though, sometimes it can be really weird. I'm not on that computer, so I can't show the example. Only 30 seconds apart, he says. And so Thanks to Rhonda. You're welcome, Rhonda. Thanks so much, Chris. Thanks for the hangout. He says you're welcome. If you guys are heading out, cool. Mark Riker, when you get a sponsor from PhotoPills, LOL. I talked with Rafa about that in 2018 and 17, and we never could do it. So he wasn't able to give like anything special, but he gave away 10 free copies of PhotoPills that we gave away at the time. So that's the best I can probably get from them. Wenjay at Planet would probably love it too, but I'll have to talk to him. Andrew Boyle says thanks. Before you guys go, I want to say thanks back. You're welcome. Thanks for joining me. Boom, 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 boom. Okay, so I wanted to show you an example of a panorama that I had this sand and a Milky Way, and the sand leading up to these rocks. The way that the light area pollution, just slightly with a little bit of tower light and a little bit of ambient light, just hit the ground in a different way at my different angles of my pano. And I found that my auto white balance in between it changed it just enough that even though I went and conformed them all to the same Kelvin number in post, when I stitched it together, there was still something different in kind of like the signal noise. It wasn't that the entire frame of color was competing. It was that inside kind of that signal noise had a little different tone to it than the other one did. And I can't show you that example right now, but I found from that point on, from 2016, I'm like, okay, I'm never doing auto white balance again when I'm going to do a panorama. In your case, in this framing, yeah, it changed between frames, but if you're only going to keep one of them and not stack them, it's no real big deal. And even if you do stack them, you can get them to match, because some of that signal noise on the edges, they might not show up whatsoever, especially in a stack. It's just when the panorama stitch had to overlap the two. Here is this one that started off blue. This one started off a little bit more yellow, and they both had a conformed down to like 4300 Kelvin. They still had a slight difference, and when they overlapped and merged, they ended up not quite stitching together. So I recommend using a Kelvin of your choice and stick with it. Nothing is a wrong choice. Roger Clark will tell you, yeah, anything below 4500 is a wrong blue Milky Way, and you're an idiot for it. But it can be fine to be any choice to start, and then just in post pick what you want. Just stick with a Kelvin. Yeah, I think I answered everything. Should I send it to manual white balance before shooting? That's the answer. Yep, definitely, Tim. You want to use that Kelvin that you choose. Man, 2 hours of talking into the mic. I'm starting to lose my voice. Yeah, Kelvin anywhere from 3800K to 55. Anything in there is great. Just pick one and stick with it so you're consistent, and you'll have an easier time recognizing when there's air glow or not, because you see the color and you recognize it. It's kind of the color you expect to see. All right, cool. Thanks so much for that question. And I'm glad that you pointed out that it was on my email, because I would not have gotten to it quite yet. All right, awesome. Chris Whiting, betting the wave is reflecting incandescent. Yeah, I think he's right. I think the wave is reflecting some other light from the terrain, which then caused another color balance change. Yep, that makes sense. Agreed with Thomas. Vic says if he shot raw, it can be totally corrected, but never shoot on a white balance. That's exactly what I said in the long form. Agreed. Have a Milky Way preset saved in camera. You know, that's something, Chris, that I haven't even done with this camera, where I have a custom function to have it be all my Milky Way settings. Probably because I'm only shooting Milky Way, really. But whenever I go to do a sunset or sunrise, I just change my Kelvin up and do some changes. It's no big deal. Yeah, you're welcome very much, Tim. Thanks so much for reminding me to check, and that worked out well. We're right on time, just an hour late. So it's 9 o'clock here. I'm going to get out of here. Thanks, everybody, for joining me. As always, I'm Aaron King with Photog Adventures, and every Wednesday we do Milky Way Wednesday, and we talk subjects of Milky Way photography. Right now, I'm finishing up 6 weeks of newbie things, beginner stuff. But then I have some questions on Milky Way Wednesday at gmail.com that I will tackle, as well as a challenge with the panorama that has some moire happening. And if I want to try and see if I can fix that and then help him and show it on Milky Way Wednesday. And if you have any ideas for topics that you would love to see me cover, make sure you email me at milkywaywednesday@gmail.com. All right, cool. Have a great night, everybody. We'll see you all next Wednesday. It's my last Wednesday that I'm live for another week of workshop, and then I'll be back. So I'll be 1 week off and then back on again for a few weeks in a row. Thanks, Tom. Have a good night to you too. And everybody, see you later. See you next Wednesday. All right.